All right, guys. So we got you guys recording. We just finished up this area here. As you guys can see, we're walking out of the museum and we're about to board USS Wisconsin. So hopefully you guys are as excited about this as I am. I wish I could know exactly what I'm looking for, but
the pictures?
no, I'm fine.
$32 for the whole package.
That's what you got me for free.
Yeah, but he might want
But
a picture of you too.
anyway, I'm recording.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good.
Would you guys take a quick picture today?
No, I'm good.
All right,
Thanks.
you enjoy your time. Have fun.
Yep, you too.
Have a good day. Bless you.
Look at this thing. Absolutely ridiculous. In the best possible way.
Morning, folks.
Morning.
Nice to have you with us.
Appreciate it.
USS Iowa.
Yeah. Well,
I was just on the Iowa about 6 months ago.
oh yeah?
I'm from LA and Long Beach and
Nice.
that area.
I'm from Ohio.
I got relatives in Green
Yeah,
near Akron.
nice. And we're from southeastern Ohio down in the forest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I play a game on console called World of Warships Legends. And so they don't have all of the Iowa classes, but they do have USS Iowa because she's the name ship. And then they are bringing in USS Missouri as a premium ship. That'll be a separate one.
Yeah.
But I love the ship. Love it. It's my favorite ship. It's one of the sexiest ships ever created.
It's a nice ship.
Like,
It's
it is
well designed.
fantastic.
Well designed.
But
We recommend you start with a forecastle and go
Okay.
around counterclockwise to get inside. There's an open door right around the corner.
okay.
And if you have any questions, ask any of us in the blue shirt and we'll talk to you if you can't stand it.
Okay.
We're all friendly.
Now we're supposed to start the first tour at 11:30.
That's up on the forecastle.
Okay.
All the way up forward.
All right. Thank you
Yeah,
much.
You've got 7 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's your guide right there.
Awesome.
Good morning. Come aboard. Nice to have you with us.
Look at this, guys. This is ridiculous. All right, so you guys will be seeing this from the perspective of somebody who's 6'2", and we're not even close. Like, I could reach up, maybe touch it. Oh, barely. Don't want to jump, but look at the size of these things.
You think it would be too much
Okay.
trouble for them to lower, so we just like
Yeah, just fire her up, fellas. Fire off a couple rounds into the buildings. What could go wrong? This is insane. This is so awesome. I got a good view right here over the first turret. You got the second turret behind it, and we got the bridge behind that. This is so awesome. All right, let's walk around here. We're gonna be starting our first tour shortly. Going up. That's crazy. Look at the size of those chains. Some might say they're thick with 3 C's. Sorry if you guys are getting a lot of sun at the moment. I am as well. And I get absolutely wrecked by the sun. But we'll come up here and then we'll turn around and look at it, see if you guys can see it better. Look at this. It's a long ways down, folks. Maybe if I ever hit 1 million, they'll let me jump off of it. What do you think? Look at this.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's there for. So we have to put it in a couple of our spaces. Because they're outdoor spaces.
It's so cool. Imagine we'll get to learn more about it once we get the tour guide leading us around, explaining everything. Woo.
Okay, what we're going to do is talk about folks with fantail. When you come up here, one of the first things you notice is we got a jack flying up there. It's and that's going to fly on any ship. Okay, so anyway, on ships when they're in port at anchor or alongside a pier, between 8 o'clock in the morning when colors happens and sunset, we have the colors up. We have a jack on the bow, an ensign, which is the same thing as an American flag on the stern, and but if we're underway, those all come down, and we fly the ensigns from just after the mast, way up top. So if you're looking at a ship that might be at anchor and you're wondering, geez, is that ship at anchor or is it underway? It's a Navy ship. If they got the jack and the ensign flying, they're at anchor. If they don't, they are underway. You don't have to be moving to be underway. You just have to be. The definition of being underway is nothing is touching the bottom or anything. You're floating and without any contact with anything. And that condition, whether you're underway or not underway, has legal ramifications if there were a collision or something like that. Now, all of this stuff that has to do with the anchors is called ground tackle. We have 2 anchors, and the anchors come up through the hawse pipe, and the anchors, each anchor weighs 15 tons. Each link of anchor chain weighs 120 pounds, and we deal in 3 lengths that you're not used to. We deal in fathoms, and a fathom is 6 feet. We deal in shots, in other words, shots of chain, and a shot of chain is 15 fathoms, and then we have 12 shots per anchor chain. So the anchor chain weighs more than twice as much as the anchor if you took all the anchor chain. Now this looks like a nice big pry bar, and that's pretty much exactly what it is. When we're at anchor and not using the or even if we were at anchor, we put pelican hooks on it, and that's what these are. And so you aren't going to just pick up this anchor and slide that underneath. You use this to hook inside the anchor, and then you can lift the anchor about 18 inches off the deck and slide the pelican hook underneath the chain and get it attached. And then you'd start with these are called turnbuckles here. If you unscrew this, it makes the distance between these 2 eyes almost twice as much. So when you put the pelican hook on, you put it on with that turnbuckle completely open, and then you use a big wrench that stands about this tall to tighten that up and get a good purchase on the anchor chain. Now we got this thing that looks like a Christmas tree here. This went onto the ship when the ship was decommissioned or recommissioned in the 80s, and it's Navy Tactical Data System antenna. Up until we had this system, and this was pretty much state of the art when the ship went back from commission in the 80s. It's a a Model T Ford now compared to what we have now. But for the first time with this, radars can talk directly to each other. Before we have this, if one of the ships around us had a contact on their radar that we didn't have on our. Okay, this is a good place to be able to see what we're looking at if we look at the ship. Of course, we have turret 1, then turret 2 behind that. You can see the bridge windows after turret 2. And as you go up, you'll see above the bridge, there's this, it's a 5-inch gun director. It has a round dish, a concave dish, radar dish on top of it. Then you go up farther, and if you see where this light, or this cable with the lights on it, goes out of sight, it's kind of going out of sight over a horizontal cylinder type thing. Well, that's actually the radar for the 16-inch gun director. And the 16-inch gun director is that thing with the 2 arms sticking out, and that thing on top of it. Now that can rotate 360 degrees, and that's going to be pointing at wherever your target is. The radar that you can see at the top is there, but the arm sticking out, that's a rangefinder, an optical rangefinder, and that's what we had at the beginning of World War II. We didn't have radars radar was brand new and top secret just for a surface search radar, let alone fire control radars. They developed it real fast, but there wasn't a whole lot going. One of my high school classmates' fathers was on the California at Pearl Harbor, and when they got the ship fixed and they were getting ready to go out to the Western Pacific, his wife brought him down to the ship. They were newly married. She said, "What's that?" And she was looking up on the mast of this thing. It looked like a bed spring, and he said, "I don't see anything up there." And so they got into this big contest over why she couldn't believe it. He couldn't see this thing. It was up there. Well, radar was so secret he couldn't even admit that there was an antenna up there.
Oh.
And this was in 1943. By the time the California was going back into the war. Now, if you can't figure out what this is, I'll tell you, it's called a breakwater, and that'll give you another clue.
Yeah, I was going to say it's for the water that comes over the bow.
So this ship takes, it basically doesn't go up the swells like you might expect. It just goes straight through. One of the reasons is because to get the speed out of this ship, this is the fastest battleship that's ever been built in the world by several knots. And in order to get that, the hull form is what really defines the top speed of the ship. And they put in this long taper bow so that we could get the speed that we wanted to get. And of course, in marine engineering, everything is a trade-off. We don't have anywhere near the amount of buoyancy up there as a consequence that other ships have. So rather than having that buoyancy kind of lift our bow up when we go into a swell, we just go straight through it. So we get a lot more water on the deck, and that's one of the reasons we have this kind of a ski lift, get the bow out of the water a little bit. Now, you don't necessarily know this without being told, but if we had a full load, you notice when you came aboard, about the bottom 20 feet of the hull is painted black. Well, if we were fully loaded, ready to go, only about 16 inches of that black, or 6 inches of that black paint would be showing. So we're way out of the water, farther than we would normally be. Okay, up there we talked about exhaust fans. This is an inlet fan, and it's designed so that air comes up underneath. There's a couple of layers of mesh there that'll trap any water droplets, and so the air comes up and then down. So, and you notice that it's after the breakwater. The seal between the turret and the barbette is under here. And if you go back to the watch technology, this is water resistant, not waterproof. If you get enough water back here, it's going to leak through there a little bit. Not enough to cause any damage, but it's a pain in the neck to keep cleaned up. So these are our main battery, or until we got the missiles, the main battery. They're 16-inch Mark 17, 50 caliber naval rifles. So they have rifling in them just like a rifle or a pistol. And I'll show you how we get them loaded. There's three basic kinds of ammunition for guns. Fixed is what you're used to. That's what virtually all modern rifles and pistols are, where you got a shell, that, casing that has all the powder in it, and then a bullet at the end. So that's called fixed. You get up to something the size of this 5-inch 38, and they're firing semi-fixed. You got a projectile and you got a powder casing, but they're separate. You load them separately. Then when you get up to the battleship size, if you had a powder casing like you're used to on a smaller gun, it would be huge. So this is what they call bag ammunition. So these are both pictures of two different it gets hot after a while. These are two different guns, because you can see there's no door here and there's a door here, so it's a right-handed, left-handed deal. This one is going to have this door over on this side out of sight. But you can see this tray is kind of going into the breech, and it just kind of lays in there like this. And you can see in this picture there's a break here. So when this tray retracts, it goes like this, and it pulls this tray way back, because when this gun fires, that breech is going to recoil about 6 feet. So the first thing, if you're loading the gun, you'd start with this tray in a vertical position like this. A shell would come up on this side. A fuse setter would come down and engage the fuse on the top of the shell and set the fuse. Then the tray would lower down into this position, and the projectile would be rammed into the gun. Then when the ram retracts, this door opens up, 3 bags of powder roll out into the tray, and they get rammed. In the process, as soon as they get into the tray, this door shuts again, and by the time the rammer is retracted from ramming these 3 bags, this door opens again and 3 more bags come out, and they get rammed. So you end up with a projectile and 6 bags of powder. Each bag of powder weighs 110 pounds, so there's 660 pounds of powder. If we fire turret 3, we can hit Williamsburg from here. The range of these guns is 26 miles. So that's, and if it's an armor piercing, and that's 1,700 pounds, just under a ton. If you're shooting an armor piercing round, that's a high explosive round back there. If you're shooting a armor piercing round, it's about a foot taller than that one and weighs about 800 pounds more. Okay, now we're going to see that this is really kind of like an iceberg. What we're seeing here is what's above my hand. All the rest of this is part of the story. If anybody knows their naval history, they know that a Fletcher-class destroyer was the primary destroyer that we had, at least in the first part of World War II. If you took the barrels off of this turret, you'd reduce the weight quite a bit. But if you lifted this turret up, it would still weigh more than a Fletcher-class destroyer. So that gives you an idea. That's Fletcher-class destroyer weighed 2,100 tons, and this weighs slightly over that. Now, the powders are all stored in the powder magazines that are outside the barbette. And they're stored in canisters like this because they're very dangerous when they're out. A spark sets one of these off. You got a real problem on your hands. It's in between the two that rotates independently. So if we wanted to load this round, we'd wrestle that onto that middle ring. It would come around here to the powder or to the projectile hoist, and then come up and be ready to have its fuse set and be rammed. Now, each one of these projectiles has a fuse cap on it. It's a big brass cap about this big around, about this tall. It actually literally screws onto the top of the projectile. When you see one like this, you know that's a dummy because there's no fuse. But they take that fuse cap off just before it goes into the projectile hoist, and then they set the fuse up there. If you fire a projectile and you